Okay, I'm Professor Joseph Holbrook, and I'm going to be talking to you today about what is social science. This is chapter one from our book, um, Social Science and Introduction to the Study of Society by Elgin Hunt and David Collender. So we're going to cover chapter one today. Uh, what is social science? Social science is a scientific study of social, cultural, psychological, economic, and political forces. It's a relatively new field of human knowledge. It also includes knowledge about nature, growth, and functioning of human societies. It's essential for learning about the human condition and improving it. So, social science is organized systematically. It functions systematically in terms of gathering, classifying, and relating data and interpreting the data. It also has to do with learning and applying concepts. We have a number of different kinds of social science. Some of the types include anthropology, both physical and cultural anthropology, sociology, history, geography, economics, political science, and psychology. Some of you are psychology majors in this class. Anthropology is the study of humanity, or the study of man in the old generic sense. Anthro means man or human. Pology means the study of. So it's the study of the relationship between biological traits and socially acquired characteristics. Sometimes it's called the study of humans. So anthropology is concerned with archaeology, which studies the remains of the ancient civilizations, the organization of pre-literate societies. That would include ancient societies as well as, for example, some Amazonian tribal groups that live today. Also, characteristics of subgroups or subcultures. A very similar field, but slightly different, is sociology. Whereas anthropology is the study of humans, sociology is the study of society. The systematic study of relationships among people. Sociology would tend to study complex modern urban societies using survey data and statistics, as opposed to archaeological artifacts or observation. So sociology would study where people gather, how they socialize, how they organize themselves, who's included, who's excluded, how they change over time, and how societies maintain control. A couple other fields are geography, which covers the areas of ecology, climate, resources, demography, and it has practical applications in the formation of maps, trade patterns, the settlement of populations. We also study economics as a social science. It studies the way that people make a living, the way that financial transactions take place, production, distribution, and consumption of goods. Some of the topics in economics might be supply and demand, monetary and fiscal policy, costs and inflation, and unemployment. Very appropriate field right now to study. So we also are going to take a look at political science. A lot of people who want to go into law will do their undergraduate major in political science. This would include social arrangements to maintain peace and order within a given society, politics, laws, administration, elections, political parties, theories of the nature and functions of the state. Political science also includes practical issues such as taxes, regulations, and services. And then a related field to political science is international relations, the study of political relations between societies and nations. This would include theories of the causes of war and peace, intergovernmental cooperation, and trade. Excuse me. IR deals with such issues as the United Nations, treaties, diplomacy, the causes and resolution of war and conflict, genocide, international trade, globalization. We'll be studying international relations at the end of this course. the history of scientific knowledge, I can't go into it in detail, but it begins with the ancient Greeks. One of the most famous and original philosophers was Socrates, who was born in 469 BC. He died in 399. He was the mentor of Plato, his student, and Plato has written the dialogues of Socrates and a number of Socrates himself didn't actually write anything, but he went around asking questions. That's where we get the idea of the Socratic method. And Plato recorded a lot of his dialogues. Plato formed a school of philosophy. He was born in 427 BC in Athens and died in 347. And in turn, Plato's student was Aristotle, who was born in 384 BC. Aristotle actually was one of the teachers of Alexander the Great. So you see that in the history of knowledge, physics, economics, arts and humanities, psychology, geography, all of these were pioneered by the ancient Greeks from 600 BC to about 100 AD. And then you come into the period of the Roman Empire. In terms of social science methods, the main methods of social science is to utilize the scientific method. It's more complex than the physical sciences because when you're testing something in a test tube, it can't decide to get up and walk away from the test like a human being or a monkey might. So we have some complex problems in social science that one may not have in the physical sciences. It makes controlled experiments difficult. So instead, social scientists will use careful observation, they'll use abstractions, and they'll calculate effects. In applying the scientific method to social sciences, there's 9 steps that one should observe. The first one is observation. This is something that the ancient Greeks did quite well. Plato and especially Aristotle focused on very careful observation and description of what they observed. The second one is the definitions. In social science, definitions are extremely important. And then review the literature. What if someone else has already done this experiment? What else have people written on the subject? It's important before you tackle a problem to know what other knowledge is out there on the subject at hand. The fourth one would be to do some further observations. The fifth would be to develop a theoretical framework or formulate hypotheses. Then the sixth is to choose a research design. How are you going to approach this research? 7 is collect the necessary data. 8 is to analyze the results, and 9 is to draw conclusions. There are some other alternative methods. One that I used in my dissertation in history was the historical approach, to trace or analyze the historical events over time. Another approach is to use a detailed case study or examination or analysis of a single issue. It can be limiting. Another method that I used along with the historical was the comparative cross-cultural study. In my dissertation, I did a comparative historical study comparing the development of a particular organization in Brazil and also in Cuba from about the 1920s to the 1960s. The primary difference between social sciences methods and physical sciences is the fact that you can test the hypothesis fairly easily in the physical sciences, but in the social sciences this presents some challenges. It's important to use common sense. That common sense is what we know to be true, but it's also important to use educated common sense, which is rational thought based on observation and the best information available. So that is our quick overview of Chapter 1, What is Social Science? And I hope you will read the chapter and ask questions in class. Thank you very much.